Good morning. Just want to bring out everyone to a Better Home Inspections, Understanding a Home Inspection. My name is Zach Pitts. I'm the marketing director here over at A Better Home Inspection by Foresters. And with me today, joined exclusively for this event, is Danny Forster, the president and owner of A Better Home Inspection, to inform everyone on what really is a home inspection. As we all know, this is something that many people are not familiar with. This is first-time home buyers that may be unfamiliar to this process entirely and introduced to it for the first time. We want to make sure that when you are communicating to your clients or you yourself as a home buyer are looking for a home inspector, that you know these critical facts. Some of the questions I'm going to ask Danny today will be something that you will want to know. So, getting into it, Danny, do you have anything to add for the folks today?
Yeah, good morning. So as Zach introduced me, I'm Danny Forster with the Better Home Inspection, president, owner of this beautiful home inspection company that's been around for about 30 years. Just to give you a little background, my grandfather did start this company 30 years ago. We are a multi-inspector firm. We do inspections 7 days a week. Right now we have 4 inspectors plus myself. We cover a large territory as well. We go all the way down to pretty much the southern border and going up into South Orange County, into Riverside County as well. Did I mention we do inspections 7 days a week?
No, but now you did.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, we do inspections 7 days a week, and I'm just excited to hopefully shed some information for you guys so that you can learn a little bit more about what is in a home inspection, what to do with the home inspection, how to analyze, how to read it, how to set expectations with your clients, or how to understand what to do after you get the home inspection. So let's get started.
Wow, wonderful. So, Danny, what is a home inspection?
Oh, geez, we're going to talk about that first.
Yeah,
First
we're going to get into it.
Cool. So a home inspection basically is a general physical checkup of the property. So basically what we're going to do...
to the doctor?
Yeah. So I like to use the analogy of your general practitioner doctor.
Okay, yeah.
So as a home inspector, we're the generalist. We come in, we're going to be evaluating everything in your house. We're going to be going from the roof to the exterior to the interior, attic, running all the appliances, checking all the electrical, plumbing, and finding probably defects. I mean, that's part of our job, is to find what's good and to find what's bad.
All right.
So we want to make sure our clients know everything about their house. Now, when we do find something in one of these specific areas, such as the roof, we have a couple of issues on the roof, we are going to direct you towards that specialist.
Okay.
So in the sense of going back to the analogy of a general practitioner doctor, you go to the doctor, you don't feel well. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you have a stomach ache, maybe you have an earache, whatever it may be. The general doctor is going to then direct you towards that specialist. Likewise with the home inspector. That's why we do encourage, and we're probably going to get into this a little bit later.
We will.
But we do encourage to get the home inspection done early on in the transaction, so that when the inspector says, hey, you should probably bring in the electrician to reevaluate the panel because of X, you have time to do that.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. So, as a first-time home buyer, or let's say fifth-time home buyer, why would I want a home inspection?
Perfect. Perfect question. Well, it doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer or you're an investor that has 15, 20, you've gone through transactions and transactions. Each home is independent.
Yeah.
So you don't really know the ins and outs of the home by walking through it for 15 minutes.
Very true.
You're just looking at the walls. Oh, it has fresh paint. Oh, it has new carpet. Oh, it looks pretty.
Looks are deceiving.
They can be. Yes,
Okay.
they can be. So as our trained and certified inspectors, we're actually trained to go through and test and analyze everything and produce the report so that you understand exactly what you're getting into. So you understand what you're buying. I mean, especially here in Southern California, we're inspecting homes that are anywhere from, on the low end, $250,000, $300,000 to multi-million-dollar properties, right?
Yeah.
So the investment is significant. We want our clients to understand exactly what they're purchasing and hopefully prevent them from buying something that they're not comfortable with.
So let me follow up with this. So I always get this question out in the field, talking to real estate agents, which is there any legitimate reason to getting a selling or a pre-listing inspection? From the seller's perspective, having their home inspected. And then what would you recommend would be a scope? Because, again, realtors like to bring up, well, that's a great point, but what about just, any of the defects that you bring out becoming disclosures?
It's a interesting topic, and we do get asked that quite often. I know you do, I know I do. So a couple things for a pre-listing inspection or an inspection prior to getting your house into escrow. So one of the things is you can get ahead of any major problems.
Okay.
So if you have a major problem in your property,
For instance, like what?
for instance, you have roof issues.
Okay.
Say you have multiple cracked tiles, you have exposed paper, you have vent stacks that need to be resealed, and then we have moisture stains in our attic. Now, your buyer is going to probably hire a home inspector.
Most likely.
90+% of the time, all
Yeah.
buyers are hiring home inspectors, which is awesome. If you're a buyer, you should hire a home inspector. If you can get in front of that problem that your buyer's home inspector finds,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to allow you to sell your house easier,
Okay.
quicker, and for more money.
Okay. So you found a roof issue with my home as I've hired you for a pre-listing. My agent and I are now discussing what's the next steps. The roofer comes out, quotes me, and I get the repairs.
Yep.
What does that mean now? Because the home inspection is still, to some degree, a valid report because it's a
Yeah.
receipt on my bad issues and good issues.
Correct. So you have a couple options, in my opinion. With our pre-listing inspections, we do build in kind of a repair verification where
Okay.
we can come back out, reevaluate whatever we found initially,
Okay.
and then amend or update the report to today's situation.
Okay.
Then you can produce that. You actually have to produce any reports that you have as
Yeah.
a disclosure item to your potential buyers. It's going to show your buyers that you actually are taking pride in your property,
That's
that you
real way to
want
put it.
to sell the property, that you want them to have a good property, and you care about your buyers. Now, when you're in that process of looking for people to repair these technicians
Uh-huh.
on your roof, if you're in your contingency period or you're in your escrow period, excuse me, you're on a time frame, right? So it's I need this done before X date, and it may be 5 days from now. It may be difficult for you to find the person that you know, you like, you trust, or maybe the most economical person. I mean, someone says, okay, well, I can be out there tomorrow. It's going to cost $3,000 to come do something, but if you had another week or two, because you're not under a time crunch, you can get it done for $1,500, and now you're saving yourself money.
Which goes back to your original point about why ordering a home inspection in the early is the best.
So it's kind of both. Depending on the situation for the sellers or the buyers, doing things early gives you the best opportunity to do your research and find the right people to come in and do the repairs.
So let me fire back one more for you from this side though, which is my sellers don't necessarily want to spend more money in this process because they are in this to sell a home to make money. So you're going to justify to me a full inspection that, I mean, is that necessary, or what options do you have for me?
We have options. I wouldn't say one's more more important or necessarily better than the other. It kind of just depends on how you feel and what your comfort level is as a seller.
That's a good way of putting it.
So we have a limited scope program that we're working on right now. We're kind of tailoring it or calling it our 4-point inspection. So it's going to cover some of the major aspects of your property: the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, which is your heating, ventilation, air conditioning, so your heating and air conditioning. And then also some of the appraisal type issues: smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, some of the VA requirements, so that we are aware of all those things.
So from that perspective, is that more catering to the increasing the profitability or sensibility of purchasing a property from a buyer's perspective, so the seller can produce reports that are more concise with saying
the idea
it's consistent?
The idea for this program is to have the sellers be able to detect and repair, hopefully, or adjust their price accordingly to fix major items in their property.
So that you can mitigate the risk of having a buyer find out during a buyer's inspection and run away from the property, which then can derail the process.
That is part of it, yes.
Okay.
Also, the other part of it is, one of the values of our company is to make sure houses are safe for people in general. Whether it be the sellers that are living currently in the house or the buyers that are buying that house. We want to make sure that their house is safe and realistically, the biggest thing is safe. We don't want anything to happen. We've been in houses where there's gas leaks. We've been in houses where furnace vent pipes are damaged and leaking carbon monoxide into the property. Active leaks underneath sinks that are caught, have some of the fuzzy stuff that we don't really like to talk about too much, but the things that can really harm people's health. And we really want to make sure that every house that we go into, people know where these problems are, and so that they can hopefully repair those issues before anything happens to them.
So going into safety, I wanna ask this question because this is a very unknown topic in the home inspection industry, which is, what are you looking for in hiring one? Because we talk about safety and a care for someone's relative safety within a home, making sure that it's built to the proper standards. These types of things that we require. And shelter is a key component of human life. We must require shelter, food, and water to sustain.
Yep.
So when we talk about safety, what's out there that establishes you as a identified or determined investigator of safety?
Okay, good question. Great question. So along with the years and years of experience that myself and all of our inspectors have,
Of course.
We do require our inspectors to have a national certification in home inspection.
You do, but what does that mean?
We
Elaborate
do
on that.
in-house. So
Yeah.
this is a company policy. Now, just to let you guys know, in the state of California, currently there is no requirement, there's no regulation, there's no license, there's no anything realistically for this industry. I mean, it is kind of a whoa, right? We are in the position to give advice or document findings on people's probably largest investment that they've ever made.
Absolutely.
And there's no regulations for that provided by the state or required by the state, excuse me. Now, in-house, we believe that's not the way to do things. So all of our inspectors are nationally certified through InterNACHI, which means that they have continuing education requirements. We also have bi-weekly inspector meetings where we discuss training, we discuss these types of things that we're going to be getting into, safety requirements, safety situations.
Absolutely.
So that's really how we develop our staff and our inspectors to be able to advise and to document and find some of these situations in people's properties.
Okay, so I know that at least in 38 states in the United States, 38 states in this wonderful union of ours, have regulatory statutes or licensing, basically some level of state intervention that requires an inspector. So what makes InterNACHI, because again, like the naming convention does require some type of elaboration, what makes InterNACHI stand above something like the California CREA standard?
Right. Great point. So there's a couple big ones. There's InterNACHI, AHIT, OSHI, CREA, which is California Real Estate Inspectors Association. And the reason that we chose InterNACHI is, as I was looking into these different organizations, I was evaluating how much value they were going to give to me as an inspector.
In the form of education and knowledge.
In the form of a couple of things. Education was probably the highest priority on that list. But ease of access to that education. I mean, that was another thing for me too. Since we have four inspectors, I'm being the fifth, and we all need to be continuing educated. How is it that we are going to access this information?
Very sure.
So that's on the part of where I was making my decision of which organization or which certification we're going to go through. So InterNACHI provides a tremendous amount of online classes, really, and certifications that we are able to, as inspectors, go through these classes online, watch some videos, study up on the written material. You have to go through, take tests, or quizzes throughout the materials. Then at the end, there's a final exam. So that's really why I chose InterNACHI, is because of how much education they have, how easy it is to get to that education, and how much back-end support that they have. We can call them and discuss things. Hey, what about this type of a situation that we are seeing in the industry? And they have office staff, they have back-end people that can really get back to me and provide me with the information and some of the supplies that we use. They have a great inspector. What do they call it? Inspector outlet. I believe that's what it's called. And where, some of our testing equipment we actually purchase through their organization. So our microwave testers, our smoke detector poles, our some of our outlet testers, our infrared cameras. They have all these types of instruments that
The essentials.
Yeah, the industry really needs and uses,
Okay.
and it's top tier products. So that's another reason why that.
Not to add that they also kind of conform to the 38 other states' legislation
Yeah.
that's there.
Yep.
Kind of adds a little bit of background, legal precedent to our own.
And I do believe, I don't know the exact numbers, but I do believe they're the largest organization as far as if you go numbers wise on certified home inspectors.
Excellent. And on top of that, they offer the certifications that some of our home inspectors have.
Yep.
So, going into that, what should someone look for, though, when hiring one?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that I think really jump out to me. One is the inspector certified?
Okay.
Especially being in the state of California, that's an important question to ask. Is what's the background of your inspectors or
Absolutely.
the inspection company? With no regulations, there's no rhyme or reason of why someone started their business or didn't start their business, or why they're in the industry, or anyone can get into it. So I think that's a really important question: is what is your background? Do you have any certifications? Now, along the same lines of not having any regulations, goes into the next hot topic that I believe is probably, if not at the same level of importance, or just below it, or maybe just above it. It kind of goes hand in hand, but is insurance. So with no regulations, there's no requirement for inspection companies to have or provide insurance to their clients.
I had a broker once tell me, if you're inside real estate, you're either insured or insane. And I think this applies in the same context here.
I would agree. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you make a mistake. And I'll be the first one to tell you, myself, I'm not perfect. I've done thousands of inspections, and I'm still learning. We always are continuing to learn. And I will say that I will probably miss something at some point. I know I have in the past, and I probably will in the future. I am not perfect. My inspectors are not perfect. Now, we try our best to do a perfect job for you and your clients every single time. But if we do miss something, I want to make sure that not only our company is covered, but also your clients are covered. We do carry E&O insurance, which is errors and omission. We have general liability insurance. All my inspectors are covered under a workman's comp policy, so if something happens on site.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment, because rain recently, roofs are kind of a precarious position to be up on during the rain. I know for our company specifically, we don't really have our inspectors go up on roofs during the rain because of that danger.
Yep.
But let's talk about it from just a normal standpoint of a sunny California day, because there's more of those than there is rain.
That's true. That's true. So, my understanding about what is written in your RPA, which is the Residential Purchase Agreement, it does state in there, and I don't know the exact location, but it does state in there that your client is agreeing to bring on licensed, insured, or bonded third-party individuals.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Now, when that happens, they are technically taking the responsibility for whoever they bring onto the property, because they are bringing that person onto this property.
Very true.
So, in theory, the way that I understand it is, if an inspector falls off the roof and injures themselves, who's at fault? Or who's liable? And not necessarily at fault. Who's liable? Could be the buyer of the property.
Well, let's be honest, in real estate, if anything goes
Now,
wrong...
This is part of it as well. Now, if something happens on a property, usually everyone's going to be wrapped into the situation. Now, for my inspectors and our inspectors here at A Better Home Inspection, I want to make sure that I cover them as a company. So we do provide workman's comp. Now, if there's a big item that we've missed, which we do our best job to do a perfect job every single time, but none of us are perfect. We do carry that insurance to cover the clients and their safety.
So I will say that, during the time of working here, I can say that one of our most commendable actions is simply that we do care for not only just the client, but for our workers as well, having those insurances in the background for them in the event that they were to get injured. knowing the precarious nature of this job, going into crawl spaces. I mean, we go out to Valley Center and some of these uphill areas, and rattlesnakes love to hide down there.
I mean, it's kind of like everyday life, though. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes, but simply to take those steps to say no matter what, we protect ourselves and our workers is something that unfortunately is not always replicated in.
Yeah,
industry
I mean,
across
it's
the board.
something that you probably should be asking some of your, when you're making your price shopping calls. There should be a couple of questions that you ask. Are you insured? Are you bonded? Do your inspectors have workman's comp? What are your certifications? How long have you been in the business? All those kind of important questions.
Because if $50 over the other guy that's quoting you has insurance, but it's $50 more, is it safer to get the $50 for the safety of all of that? Likely, if they have insurance, they probably have.
I would say, price isn't always the most important aspect in most things that you buy in life.
That's very true.
And I would say that's really true in the home inspection industry, also in the real estate industry. The cheapest person isn't always the best person.
And 9 times out of 10, you never want to really work with the cheapest person
I'm
in
not
town.
saying that the most expensive person is always the best person either.
No.
You want to do your research, you want to talk to people, ask questions, and make the decision based on the information that you receive, not just one aspect of the transaction, and that aspect being price.
Yeah, excellent. So let's go into a little bit of the difference in home inspections, which is the difference in findings, but also the differences in reports. And going into reports a little bit first, because one,
Cool.
agents are going to be the ones mainly watching this. If clients are watching this, they're going to also want to learn how to learn this reporting systems. So if you guys can see that on the screen, we'll also be having the links inside this video that you can jump to our website and visit a sample report, or you can contact us and we can provide you one as well from our own home inspection company, so you can at least compare your results to see how someone else is reporting versus the one that you're having reported.
Yeah. So there's no regulations, as we've already stated. So that means that there's no set way for inspection reports to be produced.
Gotcha.
It's really at the...
So I can handwrite one?
You can. I've seen one-page handwritten reports. I've seen up to, I think the longest one I saw was 268 pages.
Whoa.
So you never know what you're going to get. Hopefully you have a relationship established with an inspector, with a company, and you understand how to utilize, how to read, how to navigate that report.
Highly recommending to be partnership with, not in partnership, but at least an associative exchange of information. Knowledge is a freely traded commodity, but you just have to ask for it to be given. So in this case, a lot of our agents reach out to us and ask us certain things, even if we weren't hired for their job. They'll still ask us.
That's totally true, and that's a great point. I encourage any of you guys watching this video to utilize our company as a resource. If you're on the listing side and you've gotten a home inspection report and you don't understand something, give us a call. We'll do our best to help you out. If you do use us, give us a call at any point. If you want to use us for your next buyer's inspection, call us. But let's go into this little, it's not little, let's go into this important aspect of the actual home inspection, and that's how the information is produced. So one really big aspect on that is, when is this report produced?
Absolutely, because
Right?
again, contingencies.
Yes, so most of the time we have a very tight window of when we need to get things done.
Absolutely.
So we believe, and we understand how important that is, that we believe we want to produce this report on site. So you'll see any of our inspectors, as we are inspecting, we are actually documenting and building our report as we're going through the property.
So in real time, so that's real-time information.
In real time. I mean, when we're done inspecting is when the report's produced. And that's on site. So we go through our property, we document, photograph, build our report as we're going, and then we bring everyone around kind of to the table like this, and we would sit down and we would actually go over the report that you will be receiving. So that gives us the ability to, one, explain how to read this report, how to navigate the report. Also gives us the ability to let you know everything that we found.
Because if I'm just looking at a number list of items and there's critical, like on this report I see, maintenance and recommendations is in a blue, but I have deficiency in a yellow and then a red health and safety.
Yeah.
So going into that, what is health and safety, maintenance deficiency, or let's say just a deficient item? Like,
Perfect.
let's go into the differences in those.
So I can only speak for how we report, right?
Of course.
There is going to be differences across companies. They may have just one category of
Absolutely.
problems, deficiencies, findings. I don't know how everyone does it. In
Can-
our company,
Let's go into why we categorize
so let
categorize
me
it
just
in that way.
kind of show you guys a little bit of what this looks like. So you can see there's blue, orange, and red items throughout our report. Now, the way that we've decided to document and how to record these are the three categories: blue, orange, and red. Now, our blue is kind of our lower level, I call it lower level, maintenance / recommendations.
Okay.
So these are things that you as the home buyer want to know about, but they're not necessarily deficient enough to where they're causing a problem now.
If I'm a handyman, I can go around and probably fix them up myself on most cases.
If you're a handyman, if you're an everyday person, if you're a housewife, most of these things you can do. They're just preventative measures. For example, one of the things that comes up quite often is shrubs growing around the property that are growing close or onto the property.
Okay.
So we don't like anything touching the walls or the exterior. So we always recommend that we keep our trees and our bushes trimmed away from the house. That's a pretty common one that we see here. Or things like little marks and dings to the walls. On a house that's 15 years old and has 3 kids, someone's raised 3 kids in there, they're probably going to have some little scuff marks and dings to the walls. We comment that on our blue maintenance level just to let you know. Now, if someone put a hole through the wall, we would categorize that up to a deficient item because it's actually a damaged wall.
Gotcha.
So that kind of leads us into the next layer up, which is our orange and our deficient category. And those, I explain, are everyday problems, are things that are wrong with the property, not necessarily health and safety, but holes in the walls, cracked tiles, slipped roof tiles, air conditioning not producing cold air, damaged ducts. The list can be very wide.
Yeah.
But the difference between orange or our deficient items and then getting to our health and safety items is really health and safety in our eyes are things that could basically extremely hurt you and or kill you.
So going into that though, I know in some of our reporting we've noted some trip hazards in driveways, the lifting of concrete, which in normal circumstances for someone that, very able-bodied that can move fluidly without any issue, maybe they trip on it and they fall into the grass, but it's still considered a health hazard because, again, you can fall and trip. You can hurt yourself.
It's interesting. We kind of just discussed a little bit of this yesterday during our team meeting or inspector meeting. Honestly, anything can be argued to any degree in safety.
Based on discretion.
Right. I mean, we can argue that a trip hazard can cause death at the ultimate.
Absolutely,
it definitely can. Now, with our inspectors' ability to inspect with their background, their knowledge, their training, our team meetings, our discussions, our open discussions throughout our team.
Our intercommunications.
Yeah, we discuss things back and forth each and every day. We've kind of set our own standard of what we decide is up into the health and safety versus what is a deficient versus what is a maintenance item.
Gotcha.
So basically anything that we believe that can directly influence your health and your safety, holes in your firewall, exposed electrical, missing smoke detectors, missing carbon monoxide detectors.
So let's get into, you said holes in the firewall, and one of the best ways of describing a hole in the firewall is a pet door.
Yeah.
So, though you note that as a
we would note it as a health and safety item because if you don't know the requirements between garage space and attached homes or living spaces, we're supposed to have a 20-minute fire rated door that's just self-closing and self-latching, and a firewall built in between the garage space and living space. It goes all the way up into the attic if there's an access to that attic. Now that hole in the door is a big hole in our firewall. So we do comment and we do document that as a health and safety factor, because if there was a fire in the garage, it would very quickly get into the house and potentially harm the people in the house. Now, we see that often, and I'll be honest with everyone here, I've cut a pet door into my firewall, or my fire door, excuse me. I have 2 little doggies at home.
So you already got a health and safety standard.
I do. I do at my own house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that's actually my grandfather did back probably 6-7 years ago with his 2 little dogs, and now I'm taking care of them, and they get to enjoy the hole in my fire door. But it is something it's something to go into. So with this home inspection report, we're there to document and to record and to inform you, the potential buyer. We're not there to enforce. We're not code enforcement. We're not going to come back and make sure that you've done any of these things. That's up to you to understand as the buyer.
Gotcha.
But it's also up to you as the real estate agent to understand, to read the report, and to advise your clients. Right? I mean, that's why your clients are hiring you as a real estate agent. You're the expert in this whole transaction. So there's things where you need to understand the importance level of, and if you don't understand, give us a call. We'll talk to you about it.
Which goes into something we talk about, having inspectors on site, producing the report on site, and discussing it. You put the iPad down again, and you said, we'll sit down just like this and go over the report. That right there, I feel, is a key note to the way that at least a Better Home Inspection performs their role, is that despite a client's lack or a wealth of knowledge, whether it's one or the other side, because we've had engineers that know homes like nobody else, but they still want to know certain things in a home inspection, to a first-time buyer that necessarily is not a handy person, they would have to really hire someone for every task in the home. So having that inspector inform, do you feel that that's one of the most critical exchanges of information that can be provided by our company in those moments of the home inspection, or do you feel like...
I do.
Okay.
I really do. Especially with the staff and with the inspectors that we have on our team.
Yeah.
We really understand homes, and we really understand people.
Yeah.
It's not only, I don't only train our inspectors on how to evaluate homes, but I train them on how to understand, read, and communicate with people. Because we do have the ability to extend some of our knowledge during this time frame that we're with you, the buyer, with you, the agent, and explain some of these things in more or less layman's terms.
Gotcha.
So, example, let's say we're missing 5 cover plates, outlet cover plates, which are the plastic around the outlet.
A couple cents.
They're 35, 45 cents at the most. I mean, you can buy more expensive ones, but on average they're 30, 40 cents. Now, in the report, that does come up as a maintenance item, but we're going to explain to you that, hey, it's probably just 2 screws. Sometimes they even have ones without screws where you just pop it on, and it just is a protective, cover to this outlet.
And it just aesthetically looks better than what
it does
you could on.
Yes, it does. But those are things that we're going to explain to you, the client, and also you, the agent, because we want the agent to be at the inspection so they hear all the documentation, they hear all the explanations, they have the information. So when you and your client sit down and talk, you understand what's gone through you've gone through the report, and you understand how to read it, you understand how to produce that next step, which is the RRR, I believe, repair request.
Yeah. Going into the request for repairs. The RR. Now, it's an entirely written document, 3 pages, and let's be honest, nowadays, no one really likes to read that much, and it can be a little difficult.
The request for repairs is something that's extremely important in any transaction.
So what can we do, or what solution does our company provide within our reports to improving that process? Like, again, saying it, most people have a little bit lesser of an attention span because more and more things are going on, especially right now. Stress is high.
Stress is high right now. It's a crazy time.
How do we do that?
We have some tools built into our software that is designed to help you, the real estate agent. On the top right hand side, you'll see a drop down menu that says Report Tools.
Yeah, I see
And we
that.
have two options. We have Observations, Copy and Paste Text, or Repair Request Builder. So those two things give you, the agent, the ability to do some things. One, you can go through and you can copy and paste any of the items in the report so that you can paste it onto that RR.
Making it easier.
Making it easier. You don't have to retype everything. And then two, there is actually a Repair Request Builder, which you can actually select different items throughout the report, type in what you want done. You can have it repaired, you can have it replaced, you can have it reevaluated or remediated, or the list goes kind of on and on. But also in that Repair Request Builder, it gives you the option to put in a dollar amount.
That, as well as it's image based with the notation of where you can find it within the report. So I've had a couple agents that tell me, I found this, and I was like, I told you about it 2 weeks ago. So I'm glad you found it though.
And somebody actually remind us. We'll put a video together on how to actually use the reports and how to how to read the report as an overview, and then two, some of the neat features in the report.
Yes.
So
we'll write that down.
Yeah, for sure.
But in that, I've had two cases of it being used. One was some realtors just have a contractor that they love to work with.
Yeah.
So when the buyer gets their report, they get this request for repair builder. They say, all right, I'm going to pick out the items that are in this, and I'm going to send it off to my contractor. He's going to give me back some pricing on what they can do for my buyer. So that's one option that the realtor's been using.
Okay.
Now the other one was, I can then use this as an attachment. It has all the images. I can cite the notations of when it was found in the report, where exactly it is in the report, but then I can also add this as an image-based index to my own RR.
And basically, I believe you add an addendum to that RR and send both documents together so that it's included together.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you can at least add that in, so there's a lot more clear communication. Because when you can assign the image to the actual wording, it makes it a world of difference.
That's perfect.
So let's discuss one more thing in the health and safety, and that is something along the lines of what you never can really always see.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But always can see sometimes at the same time.
So I think it's what you're alluding to is the M word.
The fuzzy growth.
Yeah.
The
So
discoloration.
the M word in real estate is a big no-no. It's also a no-no kind of in our home inspection industry. And I'll tell you the reason why. There is no way for an individual to accurately record any type of dark growth or mildew or fungus or anything like that. Actually, it has to be analyzed by a lab. So we don't call it out as what it potentially is. We do look for any signs of moisture, any signs of dark growth, any signs of I always get that word mixed up. Microbial growth. Yeah. Thanks for that. We do look for signs of those as a home inspector, and I think every home inspector does. Now, it does say in our reports and in our contracts that we're not there specifically for any type of mold inspections, or we're not performing a mold inspection. But we do document any situations and request or recommend further evaluation. Now, however, we do have a service that we can do an indoor air quality sample, where we actually sample some of the air in the property, send that sample to a lab, and have them analyze and produce a mold report.
Because by us sending it to an independent laboratory that is certified, it can then be verified by that laboratory.
Because my understanding with mold is there's 30,000 types of mold.
But only a very few couple.
A handful of them that actually are harmful and hazardous to every single person. Now, there's more depending on the individual. But we don't know what it is until it's analyzed by a lab.
Very true.
Yeah.
So, thank you on that one,
You're
because
welcome.
that can be a very
interesting, touchy subject.
Yeah, very interesting topic. So we talked about the report being generated on site and just gone over during the inspection itself, the after of it. But let's talk about who should attend the inspection itself, and let's talk about timing, because average inspection can take about 2.5 hours, give or take, depending on size of property. Of course, some houses are just going to take less.
Just
But
depends on. There's a lot of different factors
Yeah.
on how long the inspection can take. I do encourage that our buyers are at our inspections. Now, do they need to be there for the entire length of the inspection? Not necessarily. I want them there for the second, at least the second half, or at least the tail end of the inspection. That's the most important part with our inspections, because we actually have the report produced and we actually go over the entire inspection report with the buyers. Now, I do encourage that all real estate agents are at the inspection, both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, right?
excellent.
So when you're representing someone in the transaction, you are their advocate. And if you're not there to hear the information firsthand, you're left to interpret it on your own.
Yes.
So as we discussed earlier, our reports come out on site, our inspectors go over the whole report with you. So real estate agents should be there. Now, on the seller side, you want to allow the buyer's agent and the client to openly discuss and freely communicate with their inspector. You don't want to be necessarily inputting, oh, well, that's going to be repaired. Oh, well, we know about that. That's in the disclosures. Let the home inspector explain their findings, talk openly with the clients. Now, I think you already mentioned it, but our inspections do they take between 2 and 3 hours is kind of our average.
Depending on the circumstances
standard
matter.
home. So, budget some time.
Yeah.
You know, don't tell your clients, hey, we're going to be in and out of here in an hour. Because that's not true. There may be someone that does that. We don't handle our inspections like that. We want to make sure we look at everything in your house, not only detect everything, but then go over everything with your clients.
So going from the standpoint of, again, we're not going to have all of you to choose our company, but to inform you of this is to say, find a company that is willing to take the time with your clients to contribute their wealth of information to you and your clients. They need to know what's going on with the property because, as you detailed out, there can be a dozen ways to interpret a piece of information,
Agreed.
like a trip hazard or the firewall hazard. There can be many ways of interpretation on that.
I agree.
Having that guidance there, again, that's why they hired you as a real estate agent, as to serve as a guide in this process. You are their counselor, you are their representative, you are their investigator. I mean, you play many roles in this transaction process.
Yeah.
But, current events related, we even have hand sanitizer up here on the table. And as everyone's noticed, we haven't shaken hands at all today. So, what is some recommendations right now? I know that our company is taking steps, and I've seen other inspection companies taking steps to be a bit more proactive, hand sanitizer on site, paper towels, and things like that. What do we got?
So, a couple things for clients and for agents. So we have the ability to go through a property, inspect it, individually, with one person being on site, right? As long as we have access into the house, our inspectors can go
do our job,
in and out of the property. With our reports being produced on site, we have the opportunity to conference call. So that's one way. We can email it right away when we're done, send it to our clients, get on the phone with them, conference call with them, talk about everything. We even have the ability to FaceTime. We've done that already in the past, but we probably are going to start seeing a little bit more and more now. Where we're actually walking around, all of our inspectors do carry one of these iPads, which is connected to the internet, so we can actually FaceTime any of our clients, so that they can actually see the property if they're concerned with attending the inspection, or even if they're out of state, out of the area. I mean, that's really where we've seen it in the past. Probably going to be seeing it more so with current events going on.
Yeah, of course.
We also have all the abilities to do everything online, like signing our inspection agreement, making payment for the inspection. Everything can be done online, except for the actual inspection part. That still has to be on site, where you still have to put eyes and ears on the property, so that we can best judge and evaluate the home.
Excellent. So, extra hand sanitizer for the inspectors out there in the field. So let's talk about things that fall outside of the normal scope of inspection that not only do we offer, but we do have a couple things that we see uniquely that we only offer inside this marketplace.
Yeah.
But also, what are things that we can offer outside of the normal inspection? And starting with like sewer scope, because given, for instance, San Diego history, most of the agricultural background of it, and on top of it, you guys got to add in earthquakes. I mean, there's so many things in the backdrop there that we see a lot of that, especially in the Rancho Bernardo, Poway, and that Miramar, area strip right there.
So there's a couple services that we offer to our clients to make sure that they have the opportunity to better understand their property.
And why those services
Yeah,
are
so
offered.
the first one that you just mentioned was the sewer scans, or sewer scopes as some people call them. And that's actually, we have cameras that we can run through a main drain on your property and or a roof vent and go through and actually checking the drainage, the drain pipe of your...
What leaves the house out to the
Right,
Civic.
so from the property down to the street, mostly the street, and into the city connection, you, the buyer, or you, the owner of that home, own and maintain that underground pipe. We recommend sewer scans on properties that are 25 years or older, and or depending on the vegetation, tree growth, location, all that stuff of the property. The average repair on a sewer line or a waste line, my understanding is about $7,000 to $8,000.
Wow.
I mean, 7,000 to 8,000. If you didn't hear that, that's a lot of money.
Wow.
We've seen collapsed pipes. We've seen root intrusion. We've seen heavy corrosion where it's blocking the ability for water to correctly flow through these lines.
Seen a couple of those.
And having water actually backfeed into the property because of blockage. So that's all an opportunity to detect before you get into the property, before you own the property, and you can negotiate some of those situations prior to the transaction being closed.
Okay. So then, we did talk about air quality, but I do want to highlight something about air quality, which is what those reports